To add those materials to our surface, we're going to go ahead and use those design elements that are sitting below here. I'm going to go ahead and make this a group. I'm actually going to hide this. And we care about these elements down here to actually start draping our materials. We could just take this entire thing and try to drape it. In fact, I'm going to try doing that now and see how well we get. And actually, no, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. And the reason why I'm not going to do that is because these parking lot lines are in here. We do not want to drape all these parking lot lines. I'm going to go ahead and delete those out. I should have deleted those in the CAD file originally, just so we didn't bring those in as a reference. And all I care about here is just the hardscape surfaces. I'm going to go ahead and pause this and let this happen. I'll come back. As I'm working through this, I'm also noticing other line work that needs to be cleaned up. You don't want to have double lines, for example, that are running through here. So, this may be the step that you have to do in CAD before this step, but we want clean lines that represent all of our surfaces. So this would be very confusing for SketchUp to handle this. So if this is all the same surface, go ahead and make those clean. I said you can make this in CAD before bringing it into SketchUp, so it's actually more cleaner. I probably needed, it's probably that line was the correct line. So I'm going to undo that. That was the correct line. So I'll delete that. When you double click on an object, it will delete that object or completely. So triple click. We'll select the rest of that line. So it's a little bit of work here. It definitely is faster in CAD than SketchUp. SketchUp is not a CAD program. It does modeling, but it's really not a very good CAD program. So I'll be back. Okay, I went through this file pretty well to make sure no lines were overlapping. I'm not 100% confident that I got any overlapping lines. So we'll go ahead and give it a go onto the surface. Like I said, I normally like to take line work, maybe just only the parking lot, only the pathways, only something else, so I can start determining which may actually not work when we start draping. These lines here have no resolution. There's nothing that's going to get closed by these, so these actually really will make no impact with the surface other than probably making it more complicated. We actually want to make sure all of our surfaces are closed. So what I'm going to do is go in here. I'm just going to make a line across this. In your CAD work, hit the end point. In your CAD work, you can be a lot more cleaner about the way this works. It's not in the group. Make sure it's in the group. I want to cut that, Control X, get inside the group, get it, paste in place. Now it's inside the group. Therefore, that's a closed area there. I'm going to look at it, see if it will fill in. In CAD, you can check to make sure all this works by using hatches. If they hatch, then we know they're going to close on these surfaces. Like I said, let's give it a go. So when I want to drape this onto my surface, I'll select this as the group. I'll use my sandbox tools. Sandbox tools are not showing up, so I'll pull up my sandbox. There they are. Choose the drape command, and now it's asking me for what mesh surface to actually put that drape on. It's actually wanting me to go inside of here. Go and click. It should find that surface even though there's a nested group. This is another one where you do not want to uncheck anything. Not uncheck, but click anywhere. Let this process. It's right now hung on 46%. You can see down here at the bottom, it's actually processing. And I'm just going to give this a few minutes here, or a minute or so, to see if it's actually finished processing. If it doesn't, if it hangs, then I know I need to do this in pieces. There may be other issues here. Okay, that actually did drape. It was saying not responding. It only lasted about a minute. And now I should have all those surfaces draped in there. What I can also do is get inside here, and I'll just go ahead and paint this with some color we'll go back to our nice green color. So everything is selected green, and I'm going to now see if anything has healed itself on those surfaces. So that looks like it's a closed surface. It's going to be able to be changed into a material. That parking lot actually did a nice job, except for it's leaking down here. So something is leaking out of this parking lot somewhere. Now, it's oftentimes, it could be because I forgot to delete out these parking lot lines. And those parking lot lines will give us a problem. I noticed on this where the surface is leaking is in between this arc. And there's a little space there, or the things that line up. What I'm going to use, if I put my hidden geometry on, I can try to connect this line with just the pencil tool, hit the end point, hit this end point, and it will try to heal those surfaces. So I'll put the hidden geometry back off, and that actually solved that problem. This is the worst part of SketchUp, I have to admit. It's when these little things leak through surfaces. And it looks like we have another issue right there. And again, I'll do the hidden geometry on, and this one I may not. We'll see how it works. If I go to this endpoint, go to this endpoint, it did work. Hidden geometry back off. And so it looks like I'm only getting my paved area here. It comes through. Those arrows are not paved areas, but that's what the CAD file had. So I'm going to just use that as my material change. I also have islands in here. So let's just, again, for the interest of time, I'm going to go and use this area here. This is probably not a, the entire thing is not a walkway. So we'll separate those two areas. Same thing over here. We can add information or add CAD, do a little CAD work in here. If I have a long line to draw in here, like for example, this looks like it's not going to close, and if I want to fix this line, sometimes I'll actually use the Tools on Surface work. And Tools on Surface is this other menu bar. This will actually draw on a surface. So if I wanted to connect that line using a curve, I can connect those two, double click. Oops, try that again. I'll choose my pencil tool. That did draw it on the surface, but that may not have been the only issue with that line. And so what I'll do is the thick line, of course, is the line that's not joining. So if I delete that, let me try to join that back in again. There it goes. Now that's actually a separate piece. And you have to go through there and kind of separate all your materials. And what we need to do is just basically define them with different colors. If I just define this as the color, I know that is not the material you want it to be, but that's okay, because what I care about is actually putting a unique color in here. Because in Lumion, I just noticed that leaked through. In Lumion, we just need to have these defined as colors. And this is obviously not working here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those pieces. There's some overlapping line work in here. There's overlapping line work. And what I'll do is go back in and just use my pencil tool. We don't have to be so precise in here. That. Escape. Go to this guy. There's the surface, and I'll just make that the same surface as my some other materials. Make that yellow. Sometimes you just make it obnoxious color so you know that you've picked it, right? And then I'll make maybe my sidewalks to be this color. So really, I call this just an indicator. We're just trying to make some indicator colors in here so we can see which has the surfaces applied. Make sure we're picking the same color so when we do replace them in Lumion, they are the same. So if that is all supposed to be all the same materials, you make whatever materials they're going to be assigned in SketchUp, and you can go through your entire drawing assigning materials that same way. They just have to be unique colors. Again, I don't want to go through here and do the entire model. I'm just going to just show that this is the process is just applying materials using the material palette here in SketchUp. That is all Lumion needs us to do. Okay, I kind of went in and actually changed a couple more of these because I believe these are the same materials here on this design as that is around this playground. So there's a couple playground pieces. We have some parking lots. I know there was some boardwalks in there, but I know that design is going to be changing. We'll take this into as a Lumion export. Do a save, and then we'll actually do the Lumion export next.